Once the storm clears, the Baskerville triplets watch in surprise as Vikir stands before a massive pile of glowing gold candies. A single gold candy is incredibly powerful, as it can instantly raise a person's level by 1 or be traded for 300 regular candies at the shop. Scylla, the fourth-floor guide, floats down in a cold sweat, forced to hand over this legendary treasure as the reward for clearing the impossible hidden mission. She is completely losing her mind, screaming internally because this quest was actually designed to force a game over, not to be beaten. She simply cannot understand how a mere level 1 challenger easily defeated the ultimate calamity of the deep sea. Ignoring her mental breakdown, Vikir calmly asks if the candy shop is open, forcing Scylla to quickly swallow her pride and behave. Vikir then orders her to convert every single one of his precious gold candies into standard low-grade stat candies. Massive sacks of basic red, blue, and green candies crash onto the beach, leaving the triplets completely confused as to why their lord would pass up level up. However, Vikir has a master plan, and he coolly reminds his siblings that this exact move is why he has been hoarding resources. He announces that it is time to gamble, pulling out the S-rank conversion bug and placing it on the little spider so the parasite can turn 100 candies into a random new one. Vikir wants a prize far greater than simple level-ups, as he is hunting for the ultimate locked hidden stat, mana resistance. Armed with a huge hoard of over 12,000 basic candies, he is ready to exploit the system and unlock his final god-tier trait. With such a large stockpile, Vikir calculates that he has exactly 128 attempts to win this high-stakes gamble. Grabbing a handful of candies, he resolves to unlock that final game-breaking stat before his entire stockpile runs dry. Vikir checks if baby madam is ready, and the little spider happily responds, eager to start the massive feast. He then kicks off the feeding frenzy, dumping the candies into his bizarre little lottery machine. Scylla, Decorabia, and the triplets watch the chaotic spectacle in silence, utterly speechless at his unusual plan. But after burning through all 128 attempts, Vikir looks at the pile and realizes he did not get a single rare candy. Realizing he just wasted his entire boss reward on a failed gamble, he feels a wave of pure despair. Sweating nervously at his terrifying aura, the triplets cautiously ask their lord if he is doing okay after such a brutal loss. Vikir snaps his head around with a furious glare. He locks his predatory gaze onto his loyal siblings, who instinctively clutch their own small candy pouches in sheer terror. The triplets desperately argue that those candies are their hard-earned savings, but under their master's terrifying glare, they immediately surrender them. One of the brothers quickly grabs the candy pouches before the others can even react. He proudly holds up his bag like an offering, declaring that since their lives belong to their lord, their assets are also his to take. Touched by his siblings' intense loyalty, Vikir sighs and regains his composure, admitting he temporarily lost his cool under the pressure. He hands the bags back, calmly noting that although his gamble failed, they can easily farm more candies on the upcoming floors. Seeing this, Scylla suddenly panics and desperately calls out to Vikir, begging him to wait. Vikir asks if the system is trying to throw another boring mission at them, but Scylla nervously clarifies that she actually has a unique business proposal. Pointing to his remaining stash, Scylla offers a secret trade. If Vikir gives her exactly 10 gold candies as a fee, Vikir instantly reads between the lines, guessing that she is offering to let them skip floors 5 through 8 to descend much faster. Scylla confirms this, pointing out that skipping floors means escaping faster, and she knows he is desperate for more candies right now. Since he just suffered a brutal loss, she expects him to jump at the chance, but Vikir asks why he should ever agree to her terms. Vikir points out that by clearing every single mission, he will earn rewards far more valuable than 10 gold candies, making her offer a massive scam. Scylla sweats in terror, realizing Vikir is a complete monster who never even considers failing, making him impossible to negotiate with. Dropping to her knees in tears, the guide begs for mercy, crying that if Vikir keeps clearing floors at this rate, her superiors will execute her. Decorabia scoffs at her misery, noting that the native creatures of this tree are enslaved by the system and live in absolute terror of the demon Lord Amdushas. Looking down at the crying guide, Vikir recalls the memoirs from his past life that detailed the tragic history of the Abyss Tree's fairies. Originally, these fairies were the peaceful inhabitants of the tree, but everything changed when Amdushas conquered the realm and enslaved them. Although Amdushas is the supreme master, he does not micromanage, choosing to isolate himself and absorb negative energy while the natives handle daily operations. This leaves the fairies responsible for managing the trials on each floor under one golden rule. Do not let challengers disrupt the Demon Lord's plan. If any fairy fails to maintain order or lets a challenger break the system, they are executed without a second thought. Normally, letting humans get stronger through regular rewards is fine, since Amdusha's designed the system to encourage challengers to climb. The system wants them to participate because the higher they climb, the deeper they will fall, generating infinite despair for the demon to feed on. However, the real nightmare begins when a challenger's power completely crosses the line, just like Camus Morgue did before Vikir's regression. Terrified that her insane growth would disrupt the plans and get them killed, the desperate fairies targeted and suppressed her relentlessly. Vikir realizes that his own game-breaking performance has put him in the same target zone, though he does not care about their schemes. Vikir crouches down next to the trembling guide, coldly telling her that while her survival is not his business, she needs to offer high-value collateral to make a deal. He points out that asking for 10 gold candies to skip floors is an insulting lowball compared to the valuable loot he would earn by clearing the trials. Terrified by his immense bloodlust, Scylla cries hysterically, frantically agreeing that her initial offer was far too cheap. She immediately uses her system authority, opening up the legendary hidden artifact window right in front of them. A massive, glowing database of high-tier gear appears, containing every single legendary weapon and accessory hidden inside the abyss tree. Vikir is genuinely surprised by the restricted inventory, while Scylla desperately begs him to pick any god-tier artifact as an additional bribe. Scylla shows Vikir a massive database of legendary artifacts hidden in the abyss, begging him to skip floors 5 through 8 in exchange for choosing any single item from the list. Although his siblings quickly step in and shout that their master would never compromise with a demon, Vikir actually finds the offer quite interesting. The triplets are shocked that their lord is seriously considering it, while Scylla lets out a sigh of relief and praises his choice. Internally, she is celebrating because she purposely hid all the item ranks and descriptions, expecting Vikir to get fooled by a flashy but useless item. She feels confident he won't recognize the truly powerful gear and is relieved that her plan to trick him seems to be working. However, Vikir calmly examines the screen before smiling confidently and pointing directly to a simple-looking scale artifact. Scylla freezes in terror and asks him if he is sure about picking that scale. Vikir confirms his choice, pointing to the scale right above her head and casually mentioning that it looks like the best item available. Scylla's heart sinks as she realizes he found the scale of forced equality, an S-rank artifact that gradually boosts all of a user's stats to match their highest one. She simply cannot understand how Vikir managed to pick out the most overpowered cheat item in the entire database. Sweating nervously, she wonders if he somehow already knew about the scale's hidden power beforehand. Vikir shrugs and says they can just call off the deal if she can't hand it over, forcing a panicked Scylla to quickly agree so she doesn't lose her chance to get rid of him. She comforts herself by thinking he probably won't even know how to use such a complex artifact, believing that avoiding a fight is already a massive win. A sinister grin spreads across her face as she prepares to send him off, knowing that where he is going next, even an S-rank artifact won't save him. As Vikir enters the teleportation portal, several system notifications flash in front of him to confirm the new titles he earned on the lower floors. Looking at his updated status screen, he sees his new titles, but the most important update is his stats page showing he finally unlocked his hidden mana resistance. He pulled this off by using the S-rank conversion bug and consuming the 10 gold candies he took from Scylla, successfully unlocking the rare stat at the last second. Even though the gamble worked, Decarabia is still incredibly confused by his master's actions. The ancient demon asks how he managed to identify a worn-out ordinary scale as a legendary S-rank artifact among thousands of choices. Holding up the scale, Vikir casually brushes off the question, claiming he simply got lucky again. In reality, Vikir relied on his regression knowledge from his past life, which told him exactly which artifact to pick to break the game's balance. He remembers a record about a weak student in his past life who accidentally met the requirements to unlock this exact artifact in the early days of the tower. That student quickly became one of the strongest challengers thanks to the scale, and because the memoirs described its unique shape, Vikir easily recognized it. He feels that skipping those floors is a blessing in disguise, and though he is separated from his brothers, he already gave them enough tips to survive on their own. When Decarabia warns him that skipping floors is likely a trap set by the tower's managers, Vikir calmly responds that he is well aware of the danger. Decarabia stresses that a deadly trap could be waiting on the next floor no matter how strong they are, and Vikir agrees that it is a real possibility. The demon urges his master to stay alert, reminding him that unpredictable variables can ruin even the best-laid plans. Vikir jokingly tells the demon that such advice isn't very convincing coming from someone who failed his own plans, but secretly, Vikir is keeping his guard up. He knows from his memoirs that the abyss is highly irregular, and because the destination is randomized, his next stop could be very different from what others face. While knowing the exact layout in advance would be ideal, he can only rely on his memories to prepare for whatever comes next. Soon, a series of system alerts appear, confirming they have bypassed the 4th floor and skipped the scorching desert of the 5th. The notifications continue to count down as they breeze past floors 6, 7, and 8 until a final chime announces their arrival at underground floor 9, the Dragon Man's laboratory. Vikir steps out of the portal and looks around, finding himself in a quiet, sterile room with plain white tiles. Before he can move, Decarabia quickly tells him to wait, noticing several dark silhouettes moving behind a thick glass wall. Suddenly, horrific mutated monsters slam against the glass, and though Decarabia is confused to see them wearing academy uniforms, Vikir instantly deduces they are victims of a terrible experiment. As Vikir processes this grim reality, a sudden, heavy tremor violently shakes the entire floor, catching him completely off guard. Decarabia panics as the room suddenly shoots upward like a high-speed elevator, ascending straight through a massive, dark shaft with a loud hiss of steam. The chamber locks into place, and while a wave of dread washes over the demon, Vikir calmly prepares for whatever nightmare lies ahead. The room opens up to reveal a massive, glowing chamber filled with giant, floating mechanical cubes, marking his official arrival at the core of the laboratory. Looking around the massive space, Decarabia's attention is quickly drawn to a strange, glowing orb of purple energy floating high above them. Suddenly, a scream echoes from the ceiling, and the two look up in shock to see someone falling rapidly from the sky directly toward them. With a loud crash, the person lands directly on top of Vikir and knocks him flat on his back, only for the newcomer, the white-haired student Sinclair, to sit up and groan in pain. When Sinclair finally looks down, she is absolutely shocked to realize she is sitting right on top of Vikir.